Hi, I'm Kai Chang Tom, and you're watching Ask Kai, Quick Tips for the Apocalypse, a series of short videos in which I show you how to slowly go feral in your studio apartment over the next 100 to 700 days or years of pandemic lockdown. So today's question is from someone who identifies as a cis, Black, gay man who is in a relationship he describes as codependent, where he's running a business with his partner and also his partner has another job, and he would really like to explore adding sex work to his working life in order to develop more of a sense of freedom. He really loves sex work. He's done it a little bit before and he'd like to get into it more deeply, but he doesn't feel like his partner would be okay with it. There are many different facets to that question, and I want to make sure that I'm respecting them all. So if I'm getting it right, our question asker for today would like to be more deeply involved in sex work, is in a relationship that he describes as codependent. His relationship partner is not very pro sex work for him, and he doesn't know how to walk away. So here's the thing about this question. There are many different facets to it, and I think it's actually really important to separate some of them out. One is the desire to explore sex work more deeply. Another is being in a codependent relationship where your lives and your finances and your businesses are all merged together. Plus, we're living in a pandemic, and I don't know where our question asker is hailing from, but I can imagine you're probably not getting a lot of alone time from one another these days either. So here's my advice for you. When you are unhappy with your relationship, it can become easy or tempting to bring in new elements that feel liberating, like something we're going to explore outside of the problematic relationship, something we're going to use as an escape, a fantasy to get away. And that doesn't mean those things aren't legitimate. If you want to do sex work, if you're really interested in sex work, it sounds like you have some experience already, then I would say, yeah, power to you. Of course, it is a pandemic, so there are some perhaps extra considerations to take into account, but I really want to challenge you to ask yourself, is my problem right now with my partner about sex work, or is my problem about our relationship? And would this question of how to navigate freedom and independence in a relationship that feels enmeshed, would that be similar if I were seeking sex work, or if I were seeking like extracurricular sex or any other kind of career change? What it sounds like to me is you are interested in exploring your new career options, but maybe you're also interested in exploring freedom in general. And that's difficult when you're in a relationship that feels like you need each other, or where if you walk away, one of you won't survive, or maybe both of you won't survive. There are all these reasons that codependent relationships feel impossible to dissolve. That's the definition of codependent. This is, I would say, a dangerous place to be in any relationship, not because it's bad or because you've done something quote unquote wrong necessarily, but because as we grow into healthy adults, capable of managing our own emotions, our own relationships, and our own needs, all of us have to navigate the process of what it means to be connected intimately with another human or humans. And connecting intimately means knowing who we are and what we need, knowing who the other person is and what they need, and finding the places where those needs intersect, and letting there be places where they don't. How do we do this? Well, it's a little bit different for everyone, but a big, big part of it is being in the mess, acknowledging the messiness of everything, and getting support, finding help for when you can't find your way out of a maze. So something a lot of people do is seek out therapists. Relationship counseling or individual counseling can be really helpful in times like this. Also, some people seek out sex workers or extramarital affairs. I don't necessarily recommend this in the context of maybe not being honest with your partner, but what I'm saying is we need to start moving toward the things that will help us to find independence when we're not able to. And so I would invite you, question asker of the day, to do some really deep reflection about what it is you need to get clear on how you can build and foster healthy independence. And it sounds like you're already making a great first step by thinking about, well, I'd like to get involved in sex work. And I'd just like to maybe introduce the idea that there's a step before that, which is, what do I need to make my relationship feel spacious enough to bring in the element of sex work? Or what do I need to do to step away from this relationship so that I can pursue my life goals without being shamed or being attacked or feeling like I'm letting somebody down? I don't know the particulars of what your relationship looks like, but I would really suggest getting deep in there. And if it's safe enough, maybe having a conversation with your partner as well about what it means that you're feeling codependent. What I would suggest is not doing it alone. If you have good friends, if there is a hotline that you feel comfortable calling, if there is a counselor or a therapist or a spiritual advisor, if you're religious, anything like that, who can help break into what I like to call the secret bubble of any codependent relationship, where the two of you are living in a separate world where the rules are kind of different from everyone else's world around you. That is a really great sign that you need to bring in someone else so that you can break down the walls of that bubble a little bit. We get ourselves into trouble when the rules of our relationships don't match the rules of the rest of the world at all, and bringing in a third person or a fourth person or a group of friends, something like that, can usually help us to get a bit more of a perspective on understanding how it is that we can shift things in the relationship, or if worst comes to worst, then how we can walk away from the relationship. So this is actually kind of a short answer to this question. My invitation to you is to figure out what you need, to get support in doing that, and to consider that making changes to the relationship is going to be what makes doing sex work feel more okay, as opposed to the other way around. I have never known anyone to be able to change a self-described codependent relationship or enmeshed relationship when the fear of changing things, because it's just really scary to change things in a situation like that. Let me tell you, I get it. When that fear is smaller than the struggle to stay in the life you're living now. And so what that means is we have to really tap into our own emotions, the sensations in our bodies, our values and our dreams for our future lives, and ask ourselves, is it worth it to wait longer? Am I okay staying in this current situation that I don't really like? Am I okay waiting until things get worse? Or actually, is the pain of living in it now bigger than my fear of what's going to happen if I walk away? And that's the really, really hard thing about any kind of codependency, is the fear of walking away is huge. I've been there. I think most people have been there at some point in their adult lives. That's why bringing in other people can really support us with that, because it's much easier to be brave together than it is to be courageous alone. There's no judgment there either, or I don't think there should be. Really, one has to look deep into oneself and say, when is my time to walk away? And would it be better to wait until later? Because these things actually usually emerge eventually, whether we're trying to control them or not. Or do I choose to walk away or change things now in my own time? That's it for today. Thanks so much for watching. This is Kai Cheng Tom, and you're watching Ask Kai, Quick Tips for the Apocalypse. Stay safe. Wash your hands. I don't even know if people are still saying that, but I think we should still wash our hands.